Wants to, thanks JP for talking.
Jean-Pierre Avigilon.
Comment ça va?
Ça va très bien, vous?
Très bien. JP, tell me about your technology.
Well, the Avigilon performance surveillance, digital surveillance system was designed basically for high-performance camera system, which doesn't exist yet. That didn't exist up to this day. And it's a camera system that provides high-performance, high-resolution, uncompressed or through lossless compression, an image that gives you all the details of the scene as opposed to losing half the details with the conventional surveillance system that we see in the world today.
So why do the conventional systems lose half the images?
Because what they're doing is they're compressing the image. And in the older days, what had happened is camera surveillance system were being recorded on a VHS tape. So the camera itself, the NTSC standard, the old video standard, or the television standard as you would call it, it would provide the image from the camera with about 525 lines of resolution, but the VHS tape itself was only capable of recording 300 lines of resolution. So automatically, just at the tape level, you were already losing almost half the resolution. Now, when
just from the medium of the
medium
tape.
of the recording tape. What made it worse is when there was a shift to digital technology, in order to record that information on a hard drive, because they didn't have the bandwidth and then the right communication medium to send that image information over to a hard drive, what they did is they compressed that image, and they compressed it in order to make it a smaller file size. So if one image would have taken 900 kilobyte to store on a hard drive, because video is nothing more than a sequence of images, 30 individual images per second. Each image, if that would have been 900 kilobyte, in order to record it, what the conventional people has done is they compressed it and made it to a 10 to 15 kilobyte file. So they've taken over 900 kilobytes of information from that file and threw it away by using lossy compression.
What are the implications for that when it comes to needing these images on the security tapes?
Well, what happens is the information that's lost through compression is the detailed information. So what happens is when an image is compressed, you're actually taking all the detailed information from that image. So on the surface, if you look at it from far, it basically looks the same. But if you try to do any analysis or any enhancement to that image, there's no information there in that file to do any enhancement. All that detailed information from that image has been removed and lost completely. Our technology uses lossless compression, similar to what you would use on a computer like a WinZip computer. WinZip is a common software that people use to compress files so they can send over the internet, and then once you get it, you uncompress it so that file size remains the same.
So you don't lose anything?
You don't lose any of the information. All the detailed information is in there.
Why has it taken this industry so long to figure this out? Because we're so digitized these days.
Yes, but a lot of people had limitation with bandwidth. Bandwidth is nothing more than a pipe that you send information through. So the size of the pipe is what was the limiting factor before. Now with the advent of gigabit Ethernet transmission, which is larger information that can be sent through that pipe, you can send a lot more information. A lot of people in the industry and the conventional analog CCTV industry choose to, instead of storing better quality image, they choose to store a lot more image. So now they can record for 8 months on a hard drive, as opposed to saying, well, let's just record for 1 month but better quality. So the industry has kind of gone to the way of storing more image and not necessarily better quality image.
Okay.
We thought that it was a time for a shift.
Okay. What in these, perhaps you've answered this, but what in the cameras, I read on your website that the cameras are more sensitive than the human eye. What gives them that ability?
Well, our human vision sees about at the 8-bit level, and our camera sees at 14-bit, and it's basically the dynamic range of how you can see. In other words, how your eyes can adjust to both dark intensity and light intensity. And where we see the big difference, for example, if you look outside and you look inside a darkened garage where the sun is facing at you, but you can only see a shadow, you can't see inside the garage. But if you were to walk inside the garage, your eyes would adjust and see inside. The imaging device inside the camera, which is called a CCD or charge coupled device, actually captures that information like your eyes do, and it records it. Now, a lot of the cameras can't take all that information inside that sensors. We're using scientific grade sensors, which is a lot more sensitive, what we call the quantum efficiency. And what it does is that sensor actually captures more percentage of that information into the camera. So it sees more and gets more detail, so that you can see even in the darkened area, you can bring that information forward.
Okay. Is this going to sort of revolutionize things like court testimony and you know, things where
Well, it
vital
won't
evidence
revolutionize the actual testimony. What it will do is it will make the job of the police officers and the forensic investigators a lot easier to be able to identify different scenes, whether to help prevent false positives in identification where they don't know if that's an individual. So you'll be able to give better identification because you'll have a lot more details to work with. The testimony is a different aspect of what's going to be introduced.
Could this ultimately lead to fewer, I don't know, wrongful arrests even, or wrongful convictions?
Well, that's hard to speculate. All we can do is offer the best quality image and not throw away any of the information. And then the law enforcement community that's going to use those images can do a better job in order to identify who's a perpetrator or what has happened to the scene. And then after that, it's for a trier of fact to decide the probative value of the evidence.
Okay, describe some of your markets. Who are you targeting?
Well, our camera is basically for critical infrastructures. People that needs images of high quality and that it's critical, like nuclear power plant, ports, airport, areas where a lot of assets are being protected, and you absolutely need to have good identification pictures and where the information on those images are crucial.
Do you see most of your business being done in Canada or elsewhere around the globe?
I think everywhere around the world has a need for images.
But certainly terrorism is more, at this point anyway, more of an issue, more prevalent perhaps in places like the United States, England, those places. Fortunately in Canada, you know, it's not come to a critical point. Do you foresee more revenues being directed south of the border or even overseas?
I think the need, because of the geopolitical situation of the world right now, Canada is not immune from the threat of terrorism, as we saw from the recent arrest in Toronto. I think there's always going to be a need for good quality images, specifically in the post-investigative tool that it's used at, because what images, cameras itself will never stop crime, and we all know that, but they're a great investigative tool after an incident has happened, or you want to determine who has been casing a plant or dams or any critical infrastructures. You may want to identify who's casing the establishment in order to hit it as a potential terrorist target. Obviously, our cameras is going to play a role, whether in border security or anything else, in order to help identify the individual responsible for the plannings of these attacks or to prevent them.
Do you fear that because you're in the sort of junior stages of your company development, you're missing some big deals right now, some potential markets?
No, I don't think so, because what happens is the technology that's being in use today is not efficient enough for what's being used. It's technology that dates back to the NTSC standards from 1953. It hasn't been upgraded, and this is new technology. We're not the first one to build megapixels, but we're the first company. Avigilon is the first to design a system from the lens side to the recorder side. Not only the camera itself, but the pipeline, how the camera records the information, and the recorder itself, and obviously recording completely uncompressed, so we're not losing any of that information.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your background? How long, were you one of the founders of Avigilon?
Well, I started at Avigilon about 2 months ago. Before that, I was in the military, in the Canadian military, in the Special Forces, so I was in the Airborne, and I was a military police officer. And then after that, I was in the private security business, dealing in the investigation side for a large international security company.
Which was the security company?
Intercon.
Okay. And what's your role here at Avigilon?
I'm the Director of Security Solutions at Avigilon.
And do you have any equity in the company?
I think every employee has equity in the company.
And who are the major backers of the
Well,
company?
we're a private company, so we have private backers.
And where are they from? Are they Canadian or?
We have private backers from Europe, from North America, and Canada, obviously, and Canadian.
Was it difficult to scout around for financing, or how did that process go?
Well, I wouldn't say it's difficult, because this is such a product that is in need that actually people were really interested in the technology. Once they saw the business plan and what we were planning to do, it was a natural thing for most people to say, yes, there is a need, because everybody has seen the very poor quality video on TV, on the 6 o'clock news, of just a silhouette of an individual. Says, can you identify this person? And most people can't even identify if it's a human form. With our cameras, you'll be able to see a lot more details on that image.
Do you fear any sort of backlash against the intrusiveness of your products in a society that's already sort of hyper-monitored?
Not at all, because number one is we're a manufacturer. Really, the issue of privacy is an end-user issue, is where you're going to apply it. As a manufacturer, you know, it's really, for us, we're just manufacturing a product that there is a need for.
And do you think that need is going to continue and increase?
Of course.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add today?
I think we're in the forefront of the technology. Avigilon is a manufacturer of one of the best digital surveillance systems. There's no other rival. And obviously, there's a lot more information you can also get from our website at avigilon.com.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for your time.